and I'm back on the construction site. After pouring the footings, it's time to start building the foundation walls. Even before I started the construction, I knew this would be the hardest part of the entire project, and that's exactly how it turned out to be. But before I get into that, the kids came over on Saturday to help me a bit. It didn't last long. They gave up after just 30 minutes, but it's still something. If you're here to learn how to build foundation walls, you're in the wrong place. This stage was my biggest display of poor workmanship.
No!
The most important thing is that I was able to fix all my mistakes. And in the end, that's what really matters. At this point, both my phone and camera ran out of storage space, so I only recorded the progress in a very limited way. Off camera, I moved some of the blocks to other parts of the foundation so I could check the width, length, and diagonals. That's how I marked out the right angles for the walls. And here comes mistake number 1. The marked walls were off in measurement. One was 1 centimeter shorter and the other was 2 centimeters longer. I really don't know what I was thinking, assuming that at this stage it wouldn't make much of a difference. Next, I checked how level the foundation footings were. The difference between the highest and lowest points was 6 millimeters, but only in one spot. Most of the variation was around 3 to 4 millimeters. I also found the highest corner, and that's where I started laying the blocks. Mistakes number 2, 3, and 4. On the day I was laying out the corners, it was 34 degrees Celsius. Putting mortar on dry, hot footings was giving me only one try of leveling the block. After that, the mud was too hard to do anything, and I had to start the process again. I didn't buy a plasticizer for the mud because the package said it was already elastic. In the evening, I bought 1 bottle of plasticizer and added a few drops to every bucket of mortar. And it was going much easier with leveling the block. Because of those two, and because I was doing this for the very first time, I was not able to properly level the corners. It ended up with an unlevel first layer of blocks. It took me 4 hours to lay out 2 opposite corners and 4 blocks. Yes, 4 hours. You heard that right. After that, I ran away from the heat and went home. When I came back in the afternoon, things went a bit faster, but the accuracy was still lacking. At the time, I didn't realize it. I was doing my best, but it didn't help much. Mistake number 5. I stretched the string between the corners, placing it directly against the block without leaving any gap. I thought I'd be careful enough, but I ended up being so careful that a slight curve appeared because the block touched the string in a few spots. I tried to maintain both level and plumb, but it didn't always work out perfectly. The formwork block itself holds its dimensions, but there are occasional irregularities that make it tricky. I left space for the sewer pipe leading to the garage. This is how everything looked after the first day. I managed to lay out half of the first layer of blocks. In temperatures over 30 degrees, my phone overheated, and I didn't record anything while laying the last wall. That's when I felt like I was starting to understand this work. And indeed, that wall turned out straight and level. But what does it matter when the other 3 walls are crooked? After 2 weeks of vacation, I returned to the construction site. It was the end of August. Without masonry or gluing, the foundation blocks can be stacked in 3 to 4 layers and poured with concrete. I was supposed to have 5 layers, and I didn't want to pour in stages. That's why I glued everything with foam adhesive for concrete blocks. I didn't want to pour a concrete beam on top of the foundation walls. Instead, I aimed to install a double sill plate to achieve the correct level. That's why I was also trying to ensure everything was plumb and level at this stage. Oh, sorry about the bare skin, but it was so hot that I could barely manage to work. In areas where there was unevenness, I tried to level everything using tile spacers. Generally, it was a poor idea because I wasted a lot of time, and everything still ended up crooked in the end. It was like this because the first layer was out of level. Otherwise, the spacers actually may work. I smoothed the edges of the blocks with a piece of concrete to remove any burrs on the edges. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it. you will see the rest of my struggles. If you like this video, hit the like button. I must admit that gluing the pouring blocks went quite smoothly. I think if the first layer had been perfect, everything would have been very level. At this stage, I hadn't measured anything yet, so I was living in blissful ignorance, believing that everything was going well. At least it looked good to the eye. And now take a look here. Do you see that dried concrete from pouring the slab? It was still laying in the excavation, hard and dried. In a moment, I'll show you why I should have gotten rid of it earlier.
It's another day on the building site. Yesterday it was 32 degrees Celsius. So today I'm completely destroyed, I'm tired, without any energy. So it's 1 p.m. I was planning to be here at 10 a.m. but I couldn't get up. I was so tired that I needed a bit more sleep. So yesterday I managed to put additional layers of blocks. The second layer I was using special foam to connect them. Today I have some holes to patch when the blocks couldn't fit, so I need to cut them and put it inside. So today is much better weather condition, it's like 25 degrees Celsius. I took Melon with me because previously it was too hot for him. It could be dangerous for golden retriever, such high temperature. I'm planning to do today some more easy tasks, just to have some rest. When I calculate over 2 days, I moved like almost 3 tons of blocks, and my back is hurting me. So I need to be more careful today.
Of course, every now and then, there were some cuts to make. I tried to lay the blocks in a way that I would only cut them to size after finishing the entire layer. You know how it is, when you're in a rhythm, things go more smoothly. Breaks for cutting can be distracting. On site, I measured and marked which parts needed to be discarded. I should have had a mask here, but unfortunately I didn't bring one and it was really dusty. Mistake number 6. I measured the sewer pipe entry into the house from the wrong side of the building.
This should be a sewer line, at least this is what I thought, but this is my water supply, so sewer cannot be here. It's my mistake. I measured from the bad corner, so now I need to patch it. The proper sewer line should be there, so now I need to cut through this block.
As a result, it's too close to the water drainage. Such installations can't be that close together. The distance was fine, but it was measured from the wrong side. The proper location for the sewer line is there. I need to break through. Mistake number 7. I didn't cut the block deeply enough, which caused me to chip a corner where I didn't want to. I need to cut it more accurately. I used a 200 mm sewer pipe here as a protective casing for the actual pipe. The actual installation will use 160 mm pipes. I mixed up a bucket of concrete and poured it around the protective pipe. I did this to ensure that nothing shifted during the pouring process and to make sure that the concrete filled every space around it. I checked with the level to ensure there was a slight slope outward. This is important so that water doesn't seep into the building. The next day, I planned to reinforce the walls of my foundation with vertical rebar. I don't have this in the project, but I thought this approach wouldn't hurt. I measured the locations for the rebar and started drilling. There will be 2 on the shorter wall and 4 on the longer one. I had previously bought a suitably long drill bit to comfortably drill through the foundation footings. Of course, two questions arise here. Why didn't I embed these rebars in the concrete when pouring the foundation, or why didn't I drill all the holes before laying the blocks? Let me explain. Point 1. Pouring the footing would have been more difficult with vertical rebar sticking up over a meter. Plus, there was always a risk that a rebar would fall where an internal joint of the block would be. Point 2. While laying the blocks, I would have had to lift each block high and maneuver it over the rebar, which I thought would be quite a hassle. Holes, I still hadn't installed the reinforcing bars. I planned to do that after the third layer. I drilled the holes earlier because even though the drill bit is long, it wouldn't reach as deep as I needed. I was constantly battling with the level and wedges, trying to do everything as accurately as possible. The third layer of blocks was supposed to be a milestone for me, a point where I wanted to check the dimensions, planes, and verify that everything was correct. From the time perspective, I should have taken this step during the first layer since I knew I was a complete amateur. I'm sliding the blocks along the edge of the wall to smooth out any unevenness. What you're seeing now was recorded on August 31st. Today is October 22nd. Fall is in full swing. There's still a lot to show and many mistakes to make, so I'll be splitting this episode into 2 parts, or maybe even 3. I'm not sure how it will turn out in the end. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. The next episode of my masonry misadventures will be out soon. Stay warm and see you next time.